Have you ever experienced the spoiling your best race because of the overpace? Of course I did, and I think everybody did at least once in life. But there are two types of person. First type of person doesn't know what the overpace is and why it doesn't make sense to start out too fast. And second person, they know what the overpace is, but still sometimes they make a mistake, or they want to run specific time and they try to stick it. So there are two types of people, and the latter is still okay, but the former, it's a big problem. I don't know in your country, but in Japan, there's a kind of a pushing style culture. So teachers, coaches push kids always, and they say like, okay, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. Hey guys, hey, hang on, don't never give up. Okay, hang on, no, don't go back. Okay, only hang on. They just say that, and sooner or later, kids start struggling because the pace is too fast for them. And then teacher get upset, and after the race, coaches say like that, why do you give up? Always you give up 3,000 meter point in 5,000 meter race. Why can't you hang on the pack? They just say like that. But it's just impossible. Kids try to, as much as possible, hang on the pack, but they can't. It's not because they do not have gut, but simply it's impossible because of the physical reason, or their training is not good. That's it. That's not the matter of motivation or gut. So today I want to explain why overpace does not make sense, and why we cannot keep the pace to the end if we start out too fast. Alright, here's just simple some physiological reasons, and before you need to understand the reason why it doesn't make sense to start out too fast, you need to understand some physiological factors. So the first point is how we produce or generate energy in our lives. First of all, what is energy? What is energy? Have you ever thought about it? If I say energy, people usually think, we need energy when we are exercising, or we need energy when we are running. People just usually think like that, but actually, I need energy to speak. I need energy to maintain my body temperature. I need energy to keep pumping my heart. I need energy to keep breathing. I need energy to just to live, just to survive. So without energies, we cannot even live. So once you stop producing energy, that's the time to die. So we need energy. So how we can produce energy? Usually we use aerobic system, aerobic metabolic system. And so what is aerobic metabolic system? Meaning generating energy with oxygen. Actually, it's not only human beings, but also all animals who live on the land, not in water. And there are two types of aerobic system. First is aerobic glycolysis, meaning we generate energy with oxygen and glycogen. So this is how I can say, I don't know how it's called, but this is a chemical factor. I think you know that if you speak English well. So O2 means, of course, oxygen, and this is glycogen. Glycogen is carbohydrates, and when we store carbohydrates in our bodies, we store it in the form of glycogen. This is actually a carbohydrate. For example, we eat bread, but bread are not in our bodies anymore, right? We eat bread, but bread itself is not in our body. But we store that energy as a form of glycogen. So this is a glycogen. And when we use this system, aerobic glycolysis, then we use glycogen and the oxygen, and then we produce CO2 and water and also ATP. ATP is adenosine triphosphate. So when we produce energy, we catabolize adenosine triphosphate into ADP. So this is tori, meaning 3, and this D means double, so 2. Only 2 phosphagen. P is phosphagen, and the ATP has 3 phosphagen, and ADP has only 2 phosphagen. And we catabolize ATP into ADP, and then we produce energy. But the problem is we do not have enough ATP. So immediately we need to again make ADP into ATP. And this is how we can produce ATP. So this is the first one. And the second one is aerobic lipolysis, meaning we use oxygen and also fat. And exactly speaking, fatty acids. So it's just like, for example, let's say we eat steak, and the steak has, of course, fat. But fat itself is not in our body anymore. We store the fat as a form of fatty acid. And this is just an example, and this is palmitic acid. Palmitic acid. Palmitic acid is also a kind of fatty acid. So we use oxygen and also fatty acid, and then we produce CO2, water, and also ATP. This is how we can produce energy. And please look at here, this is glycogen, and the glycogen has 6 carbons. This C stands for carbons. Glycogen has only 6 carbons, and the palmitic acid has 16 carbons. That means palmitic acid has a longer chain than glycogen has, meaning it takes more time to produce energy with fatty acids. In other words, we can produce energy faster with glycogen. And this is a matter in marathon, but I will explain that later. And usually, these two systems are enough for us. If we use these two systems, then our energy is enough. At least we do not do something very hard workout or hard exercise. So let's say like jogging, or for me, for example, running 4 minutes per K is slow enough for using only two these metabolic systems. But once the intensity reaches at high level, for example, for me, let's say running 3 minutes per K, then I need more energy. I cannot use all energies with these two systems. And then I start using anaerobic energy system. What is anaerobic energy system? Meaning making energy without oxygen. So this is anaerobic. If the spelling is wrong, I'm sorry for that, but you might understand what I'm saying. So this is anaerobic anaerobic glycolysis. Yeah. it's impossible to generate energy from fatty acid without oxygen. When we use fatty acid, then we need oxygen too. But in case we use glycogen, then also we can produce energy without oxygen. But here's a problem. So first, this is one glycogen and also one glycogen, and we can generate 36 ATP from one glycogen with oxygen. But when we do not use oxygen, we can produce only 2 ATP from one glycogen. This is the one problem. So the effectiveness is very low with this system, anaerobic glycolysis. And also another problem is when we use this system, also we need to produce lactic acid. Lactic acid is very big problem. And the real problem is not the lactic acid itself, but to proton. This is a proton. And these protons makes a pH or pH. I don't know how it's called, how you call it. In Japan, we call it pH. I don't know why people say that, but I think you say this pH, right? So these protons makes pH lower than usual, and in all animals there is an optimal temperature, and also there is an optimal pH. Optimal pH. And once pH gets higher too much or gets lower too much, then our body do not work anymore. So once pH gets lower, then it prevents the right metabolism. It bothers the right metabolism, meaning we cannot generate energies anymore properly. And that means we need to run slower because we cannot generate enough energies anymore. So let's say in 5,000 meter race or in 5K race, maybe the last 2K is very hard because of the protons. This is a big problem. So in long distance event from 800 meter to marathon, we need to maximize aerobic energy system. Some people call it aerobic capacity because we don't want to generate protons and lactic acid. That's why in all middle and long distance event from 800 meter to 1500 meter, we need to maximize aerobic system. And what is aerobic system? Aerobic system is, or aerobic capacity is how much energy or how fast we can generate energy with oxygen. And the maximal level of generating energy with oxygen is called VO2 max. I think you might know that, right? So most of people who are watching this video knows what the VO2 max is. And some people who read a book which was written by Dr. Jack Daniels think if we increase VO2 max, we need to do VO2 max interval. It's something like let's say like 8 times 1,000 meter with 5K race pace. We need to do it, but it's not wrong. It's not wrong, but it's not all also. For example, okay, for top runners, maybe they need it. And also, I've been running for 17 years. Then, if I want to improve my VO2 max, then definitely I need high intensity intervals. But beginners are very much different. For example, I coach some high school students, and they run 1,500 meter like 4:30. It's not the girls, but the boys. 4:30 for boys are definitely slow, and then they don't need such kind of high intensity workouts, but also moderate runs. They do moderate runs, let's say 4 minutes per K pace, and they can improve their VO2 max with that kind of low intensity workout. Exactly speaking, it's not low intensity, but not high intensity also, but moderate intensity, it's enough. Many people misunderstand that. And let's say if you did not run at all in the last 3 years, then you start running or you start jogging in 30 minutes. It's completely slow pace, like 6 minutes per K. It's enough for you. That improves your VO2 max. Alright? That's why these kind of basic endurance runs are very much important. For example, especially for beginners. I call it moderate run because it's not easy, but it's not hard. And completely beginner, for completely beginners, let's say your 5K time is 25 minutes, exact 25 minutes, then all you need is increase mileage. That's it. You don't need to try to run as fast as possible, but just you go outside and you run more, and then you can improve your 5K race time, because every kind of endurance runs that is longer than 20 minutes improves their VO2 max, even if it's slow. If you walk, the story is different. But if you do not walk, at least if you jog, then there's no junk mileage for beginners. For elite marathoners are completely different, because they already run like 200K per week, and then let's say they add 1 hour jogging, 5 minutes per K. That's a junk mileage. That does not improve their race results at all. Anyway, let's go back to anaerobic glycolysis. So the most important thing is to improve VO2 max for any long distance runners. But also there is an anaerobic capacity. Of course, if our pH level gets lower, then it prohibits our energy system and every metabolism, and that inhibits producing energy. That's a problem for everybody, for all human beings in the world, even for Eliud Kipchoge. But anaerobic capacity is also a little bit different, and we can improve anaerobic capacity with high intensity workouts. Meaning, the better middle distance runners or the better long distance runners can have more lactic acid than normal people can. Let's say, I'm not sure because I never tested it, but I usually do not train for 800 meter or 1500 meter. So maybe I cannot have many lactic acid. So let's say my maximal lactic acid level is 12 millimole. On the other hand, the best 800 meter in Japan maybe can have maximal 20 millimole. Meaning, once my blood lactic acid reaches at 12 millimole, then I cannot keep the pace anymore. I need to run slower. But for this person, even if the blood lactic acid reaches at 15 millimole, he can still maintain the pace. He does not need to run slower. That's why he beats me. of course, maybe 100-meter race pace is also very, very important, but yeah, anaerobic capacity is also important. But in any cases, every human being has the limit. How much blood lactic acid they can carry. Alright, so now let's go back to the reason why it doesn't make sense to start out too fast. So let's say my anaerobic capacity is 12 millimole. And then let's say I run 5,000 meter race. And then I start out too fast, and at 3,000 meter point, my blood lactic acid reaches already at 12 millimole. Then how can I write 2 more K? That's a question. My blood lactic acid already reaches at my maximal level, meaning anaerobic capacity. Then how can I run 2 more K? It's very much impossible to run with same pace. I need to get slower dramatically. Not just a little bit, but dramatically. Otherwise, I cannot finish the race. That's a big problem. But let's say my blood lactic acid are still 8 millimole at 3,000 meter point. Then it's no problem to run 2 more K. Of course, usually from 3,000 meter to 4,000 meter, maybe I run a little bit slower, usually. But it's not because of the physical reason, but also, but usually because of the mental reason. It's very hard to maintain the pace from 3,000 meter to 4,000 meter. And if my blood lactic acid still 6 millimole, then it's no problem to go 2 more K. And maybe I will not get slower, but maybe get a little bit faster. Of course, I get faster dramatically in the last 1K, but maybe I will get faster just a little bit from 3,000 meter to 4,000 meter. And then from 4,000 meter, I will get still faster, and maybe I will sprint in the last 300 meter. That's a smart race tactic. And of course, this is also a big problem. Now I am at the 3,000 meter point, and then my blood lactic acid level is 4 millimole. It's also a big problem because this is almost a half marathon race pace. It's also a big problem. So if I run until 3,000 meter with half marathon race pace, the pace is too slow. Of course, I can get dramatically faster in the last 2K, but I think still the time is slower than ideal goal time, right? So usually, of course, I'm not sure. It's very different depending on the person. But if my anaerobic capacity is 12 millimole, and then maybe at 3,000 meter point, maybe it's the best. My blood lactic acid is about 8 millimole. But in any cases, it should not be 10 millimole or 12 millimole. That's a big problem. And the reason why it doesn't make sense to start out too fast is if we start too fast, then about 60% or 70% of the race distance already our bodies do not work anymore. The function is completely broken down because we cannot carry more lactic acid anymore. And we need to run 2 more K with broken down bodies. In 10,000 meter also same. If we start out too fast, then maybe at 6,000 meter point or at 7,000 meter point, our bodies are already broken down. And we still need to run 3 more K or 4 more K with completely broken down bodies. And some coaches push kids too much in 3,000 meter race. That's why they are already complete. They are already broken down at 1500 meter point. Then how can I keep running in the rest of half? It's a very big problem. And also there is a mental problem. Let's say, okay, of course this 4 millimole is too slow, but for me it's still okay because I run first 3,000 meters too slow, and then I get dramatically faster to the end in the last 2K. Meaning at 3,000 meter point, I still have a lot of energy. I do not feel very hard. I still feel somehow comfortable. Of course, it's not easy, but I still feel somehow comfortable. And I can get dramatically faster in the last 2K. And then I have a lot of fans, right? Of course, it's not good for professional, but for kids or for amateur runners, it's still okay because they do not feel so hard and they have a lot of fans. Then they can have a lot of fans, meaning they want to do more in the future. They want to keep training and they want to keep racing. That's a good thing. But in Japan, coaches push kids so much and they start out too fast. And then at the half point, their bodies are already completely broken down. But they still need to run the second half. Meaning at the half point, they already feel very, very hard. But coaches still pushing them. Alright, come on, let's go, hang on the park. Alright, come on, do not, never give up, hang on. Alright, come on, go. They just push kids at the half point. In the second half, they still need to push themselves too much. And then at the half point, they already feel hard. And the second half, they just keep suffering. They do not have any fans. And sooner or later, they lose their motivation. And also they break their bodies. And sooner or later, they start saying, okay, long distance running or middle distance running is not for me. I want to quit. I want to go for football, or I want to go for baseball, or I just want to focus on study. You know, the sooner or later, they will start saying that. That always happens. And also amateur runners, that kind of thing always happens. Long distance running or marathon is very hard for me. It's not for me. I want to quit. I want to play video game in the weekend, or I want to watch movies in the weekend with my girlfriend, and that's it. And they, they still not in shape, or they are still fat. It's a very sad story. And the marathon is a little bit different because in marathon we don't need to produce lactic acid because the pace is slow enough. We don't need to use anaerobic glycolysis. But there is also a problem because we have a lot of fatty acids. Maybe we can run 20 marathons with only fatty acids. But the problem is it takes more time. Meaning we need to run slow because it takes more time to generate energy, to generate ATP with fatty acids. But glycogen, with aerobic glycolysis, we can generate energies faster. But the problem is the store of glycogen is not so much. Of course, it's depending on a person, like a body mass or a training level. But it's about 400 grams only in our bodies, 400 to 600 grams. And if we start out too fast, we burn more glycogen in the first half. And in the second half, we cannot use glycogen anymore. That's why we need to dramatically run slower. That very often happens. Some researchers said, for example, for elite runners, they start running marathon 210 pace. It's about 15:30 per 5K. And then, let's say at 30K point, they have no glycogen, completely zero, then they need to run 5 minutes per k pace, meaning 25 minutes per k. Of course, it's a radical case. Usually it does not happen because before the glycogen reaches at completely zero, our central nervous system orders us to run slower. That's why usually we cannot maintain the pace before glycogen levels, glycogen stores reaches at completely zero. That's why usually, let's say, for example, in 2019 in Beam, I ran Beam Marathon in April, and then I kept running about 15-20 per 5k pace until 30k, and I passed 30k point 1:32:23. This is still under 2:10 pace. I really wanted to run under 2:10, and then maybe my glycogen gets lower and lower, and from 30k to 35, 16:40 or something like that, and then 35 to 40, 18:20, and then I just got a little bit faster to the end in the last 2.195k. So that's not only the problem of glycogen, but it's also a central nervous system and also a mental problem. If we can explain why I got slower with only because glycogen reached at zero, then I cannot explain why I got faster in the last 2k. There is also a mental problem and also a central nervous system. Central nervous system controls my body, and actually I was also dehydrated, and at 35k point I couldn't find my water bottle, and actually there was no my water bottle. I don't know why. I don't know what happened, but there was no bottle. And at 40k point I got the water bottle, and I drank water a little bit, and then I recovered a little bit, and finally I got faster to the end. So glycogen cannot explain everything in marathon, but the point is always same. If we have a lot of glycogen, then we can maintain the pace to the end. And the reason why we do not have glycogen anymore is we used glycogen in the first half too much. And the reason why we use glycogen too much in the first half is we started out too fast for our body performance level or for body capacity. That's always the reason. So there is no wall. So people always say there is a wall of 30k in marathon, right? I don't know in your country, but at least in Japan, many people say that there is a big wall of 30k in marathon, but that's not true. For example, in training, I run much slower than race pace. It's like 3:30 per k. And then there's no problem to run through 42k. There's no wall at all of 30k. I have no problem running with 3:30 per k pace in 42k. There's no wall. I could run through, and even I could get faster to the end from 30k to 40k or 42k. It's no problem at all if the pace is slow enough. But at the race day, for example, at the Beam Marathon, I really wanted to run under 2:10. That's why I tried to run always around 3 or 4 per k pace. Of course, like after 25k, I started feeling hurt, and I thought maybe it was difficult to maintain this pace, but still I tried to run 3 or 4 because I really wanted to run under 2:10. That was my story. But the problem was not distance, but the pace. The pace was a little bit too fast for me at that time. If I started, let's say 3:08 per k, then maybe I ran through with that pace, meaning I ran 2:12. But that was not what I wanted. I really wanted to run under 2:10. That was my story. So anyway, what happened to me is very simple. I started out too fast. That's it. Of course, if I want to run the 210, I needed to start out with 3 or 4 minutes pace. But that was too fast for me at that time. Okay guys, I hope you will understand, and also I'm really sorry for my bad English, but you might understand at least somehow, right? Okay, thank you for watching and see you next video.